All right, it's the third episode of the Fiver Plus Sum, where I ask people who I randomly meet in life or Facebook bomb them. I ask them 5 questions, just how they're handling all this crazy shit, and how they're taking care of themselves, their family, their mental health, self-care, all that fun stuff. Today we have Trez Mala. Is that right?
Yes. Correct.
Trez
Yes.
Mala. Who is the ThinkStopper. He's a stand-up comedian from Las Vegas. I was lucky enough to meet him on my 38th birthday. He was the tour guide for Comedy on Deck, which is, if you ever go to Las Vegas, it's an amazing experience. Once all of this is done, go back, go do this. He took us on a tour of the Hoover Dam. We saw Nevada's state animal, which was the coolest thing ever. And that same day, I had the best meal I've ever had in my life at Bizarre Meats by Jose Andres.
Oh,
So,
sweet.
oh man, it was awesome. Sat next to Andrew Zimmern that night too.
Oh, really? He was there, huh?
Yeah, they were filming like Good Eats from Vegas or something like that. It was the most amazing experience I've ever had. So we laughed all day. We saw animals, which I like. I laughed really hard because I love stand-up comedy. Uh, then I had like the best meal. It took 4 hours. We
Oh,
did,
lovely.
yeah, we did the mid-grade chef's meal over at Bizarre Meats. Is Bizarre Meats still open now that SLS changed over back to the Sahara?
I think so. I think that's their still their flagship
Okay.
uh kind of restaurant. I mean, he's the celebrity chef and stuff like that, but um yeah, I've yet to eat in there. I've yet to eat there.
Uh,
I've never been. I've been to other um I've got to experience Chef Andres food, but I've never been to Bizarre. So I wanted to go. You know, you see him holding that big old dinosaur leg, whatever the hell that piece of meat is. But you
that
know,
giant tomahawk chop. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but I've always enjoyed the food over there. After when they turned into the SLS, they did elevate the place, the old Sahara. I mean, it was a dump. And trust me, when I say dump, like I had inside look. Like I was working, I was working with a food distributor, and I was supposed to be selling food to the buffet there, the old Sahara. And
Uh-huh.
I went in, man, and I was just like, yo, how can you even this? How do you even get away with charging for this? Like this is like, this you wouldn't even give this to the homeless in your charge. I mean, it was bad.
Oh,
And yeah, and I was like, my the guy I was working with, he was like, yeah, we're trying to elevate, we're trying to bring their stuff up, but they end up selling. But anyways, they really changed the place, and it took a lot for Vegas locals to get used to saying the SLS. And everybody would always ask us, like, what is the SLS? And I'm like, I don't know, like service, luxury, and service, like, I don't know. It was like style, luxury, and service. I don't even know really, but then they changed it back to the Sahara, and we're like, yes, victory, like they came to their senses. And so everybody was like, oh, what's that one? We're like, the SLS. Like, they got us, like, we can't like shake it now, like, so.
uh,
But uh, no, but I like, me and the missus, we would get rooms there. It's a nice place. So when they open up, I hope, everything,
mhm.
it's going to be a tough one. This is going to be a tough one to go back. I mean,
Oof.
everybody's afraid of, people are afraid of cash, and now people are afraid of people. And those are two major components of Vegas,
Well,
people
yeah,
and
it's
cash. So,
yeah, people in cash, people in cash. Oh man, yeah, I was wondering how things are going out there. The only thing, it's weird because here in Colorado, all I ever see is everything's lit up in blue on
what
the
do you mean by that?
strip.
Lit up in blue.
So like the Mirage, and I don't know if the Bellagio did it or not either. So it's in solidarity for the frontline healthcare workers that are risking
Oh,
their lives taking
oh.
care of these people.
Oh, okay. No, I'm not familiar with that. I'm literally like holed up. Like I don't go anywhere. I don't do anything. And it's not because I'm afraid. There's just nowhere to go, and everywhere I
Right.
go, leaving the house costs me money. You know what I mean? So I
No,
just
I
I
hear you.
just don't I just don't go. Like I trust me, man. I've been invited to all sorts of gatherings, and I'm like, nah, man. I'm like, I tell everybody, I go, I'm the conspiracy theorist here. Okay. I'm the conspiracy theorist dude. And I'm the guy that's like, this is hyped up, but I'm also not giving anybody a chance to like nail me on being at like some poker game or something like that. You know what I mean? And my wife was like, yo, this is like a brown shirt snitch society. My wife, all right. Like my wife, like she's not even, I was like, how do you even know about the brown shirts? You know, I'm like, what are you listening to? And she's like, yo, this snitching out there, man. She's like, you can't, cause I've been offered to like, everybody wants to have a little side hustle, a little something going, but been offered to, participate in things. And I was like, oh, no, I'm good. But she was like, even if everybody was good, no virus and everybody that they've been around, they're like, people see you drive up and more people, they're gonna call the cops. You know what I mean? She's like, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not even messing with that. Like the people are bugging out. But um, I'm just holed up. I'm holed up. As far as what we're waiting to when we open up, and when we do, we already have we already have a show.
Okay.
We already have a show for on May Day. The next day, it's set, it's ready. We're just waiting. We're like the kids. Everybody that's there an hour early for Disneyland, they're waiting to open up so they can go run to the rides. Like we're waiting to run to the stage right now. So yeah.
I totally get that. As you know, because I texted you, I was like, hey, I just created a meeting 30 minutes before I told you we were meeting. My wife hates it. She's always late, though. So I'm so excited for everything to open up for you. You're a very funny, funny man.
I appreciate it.
Um, oh, yeah, of course. I will include links to uh, your podcast, your stand up comedy, anything that you want. Just let me know.
Oh yeah, for sure. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So, how did you get started? We're going to start now with the five.
Okay.
And I kind of call it five and some adjacent because that's what I do. Um, how'd you get started in comedy, and what is the comedy scene in Vegas like?
Um, I got started in stand up because I just went to an open mic, but I didn't know those existed.
Mhm.
Um, I I always thought that you needed to know somebody, you needed to have some kind. I didn't know open mics exist. I didn't know how that's how the way the comedy world worked. But going like way back early in life, when I was a child, and it had to have been around my younger son, my middle son's age, about maybe a little bit younger, 5, maybe 6. But my grandpa was a deputy probation officer up at the camp. So they had juvenile delinquents, and instead of jail, they put them in these camps. And
Mhm.
um, they, it, I went up there. We would go up there every Thanksgiving, and um, we would do Thanksgiving dinner. So we would drive up. My grandpa, that was his 4th day of work. So after Thanksgiving dinner, we would all drive back down, come back home, like as a family. And so we'd go up there and he'd do this big speech. And even though he wasn't director, he was like the camp director. He just wasn't by label, but he was like the guy in charge.
Gotcha.
Um, and so he would go up and he would do this big speech in front of all the kids and stuff. And he would take me on stage. And when I was real little, he never said anything. And this one time he said, this one time he pulls me up, and I don't know what he said, but he was roasting me because they were laughing at me, right?
Right.
And he goes, and this has probably had to be at least 500 boys, men
Oh
to me.
man.
I mean, it was the huge, as far as I could see, huge mess hall. I mean, the place is
Yeah.
massive, Camp Mendenhall. And I mean, it was huge. All the staff, everybody. And I'm on stage, and he hands me, he goes, what do you think about that, Spike? You know, that's my nickname, you know. And I go, oh, don't listen to him. I go, that's just my bald-headed grandpa, right? And the whole place just roared at once in laughter. And I remember like having an outer body experience, be like, I don't know what that was, but that's what I want, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, and I just knew like, wow, that was powerful. Because to me, that was my grandpa. To them, that was Mr. Pearson. You know what I mean? That was, you know, and so my influence in life for comedy was is twofold. Was Benny Hill,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
Comedy with almost no words. Majority of his
Mhm.
comedy was, you know, it's selling it with his face and
Yeah,
expression.
yeah, yeah.
And then stand up was Richard Jenny.
Oh,
And
okay.
I always thought Richard Jenny was how you had to talk. That's how you had to express yourself. I just figured because I just remember watching him one time, and it was with my family, and I wasn't supposed to be watching, but we're one, and it had everybody in the room laughing, and I was like, that's how you're supposed to be. So from that point on, like with that influence, people would always be like, oh, you're a comedian, or oh, you should be a comedian, or oh, we got a comedian here. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
so you hear it so much. And then that's how I got started. Was I was like, someone was like, you should go to an open mic. I'm like, what's that? And they're like, that's where comics go and get started. And I was like, that's a thing. I went, and um, the worst thing happened to me was I went up and I had a good set at this place. There's some shady hole in the wall. I went up and had a good set. I made people laugh, and that was a big fat needle in the arm, and that changed the course of my life. You know,
It sold you on that. How old were you when that happened?
21, 21. I would have started a lot sooner had I known. Uh, you know, but it's such as life, you know.
Yeah.
And I also had a chance to be in with people that are like really that are famous now, and they're like, you know, they're they're doing great in the comedy world. Like I had a chance to like grow up and be with that, you know, but I went with working, you know. I took the immediate safe route, but at the same time I wouldn't have my family and what I got today, so I don't really care.
So
Really.
it sounds like, especially in this time, this is what I've learned personally, being stuck in the house, is I am so thankful. Like I have elderly parents. They're in sequestered in this retirement community. No one's really allowed in. Um, but it, it because of all of this kind of hunkering down, I'm happy about the decisions I've made, even though like I have things that I wish I had done and things that I probably missed out on. But I have a great wife. I get to see my parents right now. It's only over the internet, and I have two great dogs. I don't think I'd give that up. Actually, would you give it
No,
up?
no, not at all. Not
Good
at
for
all.
you. Good for
You
you.
know, there's a lot that I'd give up to keep it this way. You know what I mean? Opportunities if I knew, you know, if I knew. And you know what's crazy is to think is like, I mean, who knows, man? What horrors lie, you know, in front? But it's been great. My family's been great. We've survived some pretty hard shit so far. We're going through some of it right now. Pardon my language, but
Oh, so feel free to swear. Like I
okay,
swear
yeah,
like a
just
sailor, so you're
okay,
fine.
yeah, just but and but ultimately, you know, I I quit I I I quit fighting I quit fighting those things that I wanted in like the way of life because, you know, um, it's true, man. Like a lot of stuff that you want, you really don't want. You know, a lot of stuff
Hmm.
that you really want, you definitely don't need, but you really don't want it. Like it's a trigger, it's some kind of mechanism. And what I ultimately want, I definitely have. You know, like I wanted somebody who one respects me, but also like accepts me, like just knows uh, I'm not all there. You know, I'm not. You know, I have like accepts my faults. Like it's people when they meet me, you know, especially if they meet me in a kind of social manner, you know, they think I'm like, oh yeah, you know, oh you're a comedian, always but like, you know, my wife, she'll be like, I hate it when you have a good show. She goes, the next day you're on your comedy hangover to where you're just like angry at the world, you know, and it's true. It's true.
Interesting. Okay, so
It happens, yeah. You know.
sorry, can I put a pause on that? Because I want to ask you about that because in the three conversations I've had, because I've never done this, and like I've been a therapist for about 20 years. And this is the first time I'm actually putting myself out there,
Hmm.
which as a therapist, usually therapists are pretty introverted. Uh, just don't don't want to be seeing things like that. I do, because there's probably a little bit of narcissism in me. Um, but after the three different interviews, I actually have a hard time. Well, two now, but I have a hard time going to sleep because I'm like, oh, this was so much fun. This was the coolest thing that I was able to do. I was able to talk to somebody that I didn't know. And the next
Yeah.
day I'm like, oh, fuck. Fuck, everyone probably hates me. What the fuck did I do? And is that similar to the comedy hangover, or what's the comedy hangover look like for you?
Um, I don't. Um, you don't know what's happening. Now I do, you know, but I would. It's the exact opposite of like the elation that you felt with having an audience and in the camaraderie and everybody like, you know, being happy with your work, and you know, it's like you hit the game winning home run, you know, the walk off home run. Like now the next day is like you wake up, there's none of that there. It's over, you
You're dealing
know.
with real life.
Yeah, now the baby's crying. Now the, you know, not
The
now
dog
the
shitting in the house for me.
yeah, now the you got to look at the bills. Now you got to book the next gig, you know, and then at the same time, it's like, oh, I need to find what's wrong with that set. How do I make that better? You know what I mean? Like you just
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
enjoy it. So my wife, you know, like I get real snappy and stuff. And she pointed it out and I was like, holy cow. Like it was almost like a bus. Like I was about you know, my life flashed before my eyes. Like I started running it back in my head, you know, like this whole like just montage of the shows, and I'm like, you know, Kobayashi, you know, like it was like the usual suspects, like it was all coming
Right.
together. I was like, you know, and geez, my daughter's just running in and out of the room, but
It's
yeah, no,
okay.
it
This
was like one
happens
of those
every single
things.
time. It's totally fine.
Come on,
Hey,
go
kiddo.
ahead, run out of here, baby girl. Come on, go. Your brother wants you. Yeah, she's a little. She'll come in and try to dominate. She'll like yank down this green screen behind me too. Yeah. Go, baby. But yeah, man, you know, I have those comedy hangovers. It happens, you know. Um, come on, guys, go. Jeez, over there, WWE. Close the door too, Bubby. Um, but it's it happens. It's like a sensory overload, you
Mhm.
know. I mean, and then it, you know, I've never had um, I've never had like a day when a good show happens. I've never had a bad day when a good show happens and then like you can keep it rolling. Like you keep it rolling in the comedy world. Like you wake up that like when I'm on tour or something, that doesn't happen. It
Hmm.
happens when you have to like deal with reality. You know what I mean? When you're faced with your responsibilities and having to shut that off. Cause there's a lot to like turn on as a comedian. You know, like doing the tours, I'd work all during the day and then I would have this amazing energy after work, right? Especially if I had a good tour, you
Yeah.
know, made people laugh and stuff. Get home, do the stuff with all the kids, and then I'd start to wind down, you know.
Mm.
And then the thing is, if I have a show, I'm winding down like mentally, my body's like getting towards showtime. Um, so then I'd have to like, you know, I'd have to either get tuned up one way or the other as far as, you know, drinking or
Gotcha.
blazing or something like that, you know, like, and then get my energy up, get a couple shots in me, you know, like, and then go do my set. So I'm like crisp and popping, you know,
Yeah.
and then you get off stage and then you just gotta like, damn, I gotta be up in a couple of hours. Like now you gotta shut it off, you know? And
Hmm.
that's what like kills a lot of like performers because usually what ends up happening is that start stop that I gotta, you know, and you gotta get your energy up. You gotta draw that in. It happens anyways, eventually. But naturally, but that's how guys they get into all the pills, you know,
Oh yeah.
uppers, downers, asleep, da, 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 da. Never, dude. You know, like that's what weed and whiskey's for. You know what I mean? Like, but um, uh, so I got into transcendental meditation to help me with that.
Oh
You
really?
know,
Huh.
that helped me out. That helped me out because that really when you know 20 minutes of like this of meditating of like doing working the mantra and just letting stuff go. I mean, I come out of that like I had 8 hours of sleep. You know, it's crazy. Like that really helped. Um, but it's that, you know, turn it off, turn it on. But if you can just keep it rolling, you know, where you're just doing comedy nonstop, I mean, you just got to make sure you just don't turn your life into one reckless party,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I think one of the cool things is obviously as your kids ran into the room, um, you have a good grounding family and base for you from there. Is what
Oh,
it sounds
yeah.
like.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. So, see, this is why I call it like 5 questions adjacent because I always ask clarifying questions. All right. So, like I mentioned, we met on Comedy on Deck.
Yep.
Um, what's the most entertaining or unique experience you have ever had giving a tour?
Wow. I've had a few good ones. I haven't had anything crazy. I've had people propose. I've had couples get in fights, and you know, deal with that, but nothing like no fist fight or anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I have been you know, fondled by a bunch of old ladies before, uh, multiple times. Um, I would have to say one of the things that really stands out for me though that happened, and I turned it into a joke, and it's a story, it's a true story, and there's no hyperbole, but the humor is in the details.
Yeah.
But I had a I was doing a tour where we were evacuated off of the dam, everybody, because the guy drove a armored truck on top of the bridge next to the dam,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
the Memorial Bypass Bridge, and he on the southbound traffic going in towards Arizona, he parked it to where he was blocking the traffic, and then he had a standoff with the police. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that was like when the first, like they were making the first thing right when Trump got into office about the inspector general reports. That's about like Hillary emails and stuff. It was supposed to
Okay.
be, and it was heavily redacted, and this guy wanted to be unredacted, and he had an armored truck that he made into an RV, or to a recreational living vehicle, potty,
Yeah.
kitchenette, the whole works, AC and all that stuff. So he puts all these signs up saying Mr. President, da 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 da. And then he also, on communications with the police, he's like, I have, and I found this by Twitter. This as it was happening, it's like being reported. People are listening on the scanners, because where they were in Vegas, the scanners are blocked, but in Boulder City and Henderson, they're not blocked. They're not scrambled. In
Oh.
North Vegas, so everywhere, because of the shooting, after the shooting. But so people on the scanners are training, and the guy said he's got 21 days worth of food, water, ammunition. He's like ready for the standoff, like he has his demands and all this stuff like that. So they evacuated all of us, and that was crazy, because all we knew immediately, until I was like, and when we're driving, I can see it. I can see it on the bridge, and we're like driving on the thing. I'm like, dude, everybody needs to just go, like, in case they start shooting, like whatever. Yeah, I'm like, just go. I'm like, hey, they're far away. We're fine, maybe, but that random. There's a possibility, right?
Right.
But
right.
So what ends up happening with that was they saw that the AC unit on the top wasn't protected. So they took out the AC unit, and the dude was just sitting in the heat. And it wasn't armored. It was on top. It wasn't, so they took one, and that standoff lasted 19 minutes.
Oof.
Yeah. So that's what I joke. I preface the whole thing, the joke about leaving, signs about leaving your kids in the car, your pets in the car, and I have all these jokes leading up to that. Then I tell the story, and I swing it back. I smack it in the face with those jokes. So it works out really good to be able to to draw people in, because I'm giving the gist, but it's quite of a fascinating thing. But being told to get off of the dam because there's somebody with like guns and potential explosives.
That's crazy pants. Yeah.
And then the other time that I thought was quite extraordinary was there was a guy who was threatening suicide. 3 times I've been evacuated off of the dam for people jumping.
Yeah.
But one time the guy was like standing there over the side, like
Oof.
physically like making the motions, and I'm like, and then it was so gross. There's people there with their families, they do it, they're yelling. I was like, bro, I'm like, that's that guy's worst. This is the worst, craziest moment of his life, and you listen.
You're encouraging him, yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, just imagine that's your son, strung out on some dope or something, doesn't know which way to get. You know what I mean? You got him over there.
Yeah.
Father's nudging the kid, do a flip, and I was like, oh, dude,
Those are the people that I worked in the ED for 10 years, doing mental health and risk assessment for people that were suicidal. So I totally get it. Like,
oh, dude, it's terrible, man. I've been around. Rough. I was a bartender for 17 years. I've been around all of it. You know what I mean? Like we would send them to you guys.
Exactly.
I'm first line over here. I don't really help.
My favorite part is when the police officers would bring them in. They're like, "Here you go. Oh, he's psychotic and violent and suicidal. You can deal with it. If you can't tell, little doughy. I am not a police officer." So,
Judy chops.
Right. Stop it. You will stop it. Anyways.
Yeah. Stop. Don't touch me there. This is my no-no square.
No, it's funny because sometimes my wife and I, we went and served soup in a wet shelter in kind of the rough part of Colorado, and like somebody was being very belligerent. I walked over. I was like, "You need to sit down. I will bring you food. You don't talk to people like that." She's like, "You realize he could hit you?" I was like, "I know. I'll cry when I get home." So,
Well, you know, also is and I hate to say this, but it's true. And it to a certain extent, there's a certain, but some people need to be talked to
mhm.
in an assertive manner. They don't,
Right.
it won't respond. They just don't
No.
respond, or that's what they're looking for. They're seeing how far they can push it. You know,
Hmm.
I mean, I got that all the time with people, just in general, life in general. But um, you see that all the time, especially where you know, working in the medical field. You're dealing with people that are freaking out. They're on their wits' ends. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah,
Like
they're.
life is in a tornado of shit. You know, usually when they come in and see you, man, if it's not in their life, it's in their head. Fucking
Yeah,
blenders going on. You know.
they're just trying to figure out how to make it work. So yeah, no, I get it. So all right, number three.
Hey, real
This is
quick
my
though, real
what?
quick though,
Sure.
I do want to say something about the tours though.
Oh, go ahead.
I do want to say this. I got into the tours. I had no idea about that industry or anything. It was uh, one of the most absolute best working experiences I've ever had. It has given me an amazing. It was an amazing fast track for my comedy and my stage presence skill set, thinking
Mhm.
on my feet, articulating myself, being clean,
Mm.
you know, and it really got me to be to the point where I feel I'm as close as I can be, at least in this point, as myself on stage in any audience and I've always felt like that, but just more so now.
Mhm.
Um, but our company, Comedy on Deck, I mean, I really hope there's something that they can do with all this stuff to keep it going. You know, I hope there is some support.
Yeah.
There is some programs or something, and then also people coming back to Las Vegas because um, not only is it a great, it's a great thing. You know, the history and the the history, but there's engineering. There's a lot of stuff to learn about it. But also, one of the things is it's just a great way for people to connect. You
Hmm.
know, um, and I really hope that the company, because it's under it was this is what's sad. It was just bought by a guy, like a guy just bought it,
Oh
right?
man.
Just went through all this stuff and he's all about it and I support him. You know, I'm all about helping him and it's not like I do now, but he just bought it and he's working on trying to, get this thing, but I hope it can survive. It's something that could be done in every city where they have tourism. I
Oh,
mean,
it'd be amazing.
it's a
I'm a
great business model.
I'm a giant nerd, so I love going on tours. And when you mix stand-up comedy and tours, it's like my two favorite things. It was a highlight of my trip.
I appreciate it,
And
man. I really
yeah,
enjoy what I do. So,
good.
I hope someday to get back to it.
I hope you do too. So, and it's funny because my wife and I we don't drink all that much. We don't gamble, and we had so much fun. That was our first time in Vegas because we found cheap tickets and had so much fun.
Hell
And
yeah.
again, like I get to meet people like you, so which is
Yeah.
awesome. All right, number three. This is my wife's question because she helped me develop the idea for asking five questions. Uh, what is something people don't know about you or would be surprised to know about you?
Um, well,
I know it's so
there's a lot of
open.
people don't know about me. Um, well, when people know me, I'll say this: when people know me and they know, like, how I am, how much of a pervert and how much of a drunken, uh, pot smoking, acid eating, mushroom taking individual I am. They are shocked that I was Mormon, I guess, or I am Mormon
Really?
by I was raised very, very loose and casual on the fringe of the church,
So here in
so
Colorado, we call those Jack Mormons.
see, and I take offense to that,
Okay.
to that
Tell me about
term,
that.
to
Tell
that
me about
term.
that. That's
And
interesting.
the reason why is that's a very broad label. I'm just somebody that likes to live my life. All right. When I was young, I never wanted to go to church because just for the simple fact, I was like, and I remember, and I had to have this discussion with my sister years. I mean, 20 years later, maybe not, maybe 15 years later, which got her out of the church, because of our discussion and a couple things that happened to her. And actually a couple things happened to her, and then our discussion reinforced it. But what it was is I came to the realization, it was like, this is another group of people judging me. Life is already hard
Ooh,
enough. You know what I mean? Like I don't need any of this stuff.
yeah,
So
interesting. Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that
Like,
makes sense.
because
Yeah.
if you listen to, what's said in the Bible, it's like in a time of worship, what do they say? And it was crazy. I just so happened to catch it. Mike Pence, and this is something that I've heard when I was a kid, but Mike Pence just mentioned something. I can't remember the quote, but I remember the gist of it was like when there's two people in the house
When
worshiping the
two people are
Lord,
meeting,
the Lord,
it,
I am theirs
yeah,
too. I'm there as well, right?
yeah.
But I was always told by my uncle and by people, you, you, what do I say? You pray, you pray in your closet, you pray. It's like you and your connection with God, you
Mhm.
know? And another thing a lot of people don't know about me, but I tell everybody, is I've always felt different. I've always felt like I've been different. I've always looked at things different. People have always told me. I've always felt I was normal, but people have always told me. But when I was, um, before my second birthday, 2 weeks before my second birthday, I had a drowning accident and I died. I was literally
Ooh,
underwater. I was underwater for like about 8 to 10 minutes, they estimate.
mhm,
All right. I
mhm.
was dead. uh, Girl across the street and my grandma, they did the whole mouth to mouth throwing up raisins, and they said that's pretty much what like it eventually saved my life.
Ooh,
In less than 10 days, I'm out of the hospital. Right, crazy kind of, you know. Same weekend I drowned, OJ Simpson had a daughter that drowned. She was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
she drowned and died. So it was like on the same weekend or like a week or two
yeah.
apart, something. um I I honestly, because like I don't remember much or anything like that, but I do have like I've had some reoccurring dreams in my life. Nothing of like a message or anything like that, but
Mhm,
something, and that's always kind of just kind of been there. But I've always looked at things differently. I've always been different. I've always been afraid to speak up. I've never been, like I've been very instinctual. The time I got away from my instinct, it's hurt me.
mhm,
It's been bad. So my instinct has never done me wrong. Um, and I think it was because of of drowning. I think it was like kind of like a rebirth, like something that's like shocking had happened to my body, or like that strike, that fight for life or something. I think
mhm.
there's like you know, it's my personal take, whatever, what have you. But so sorry, it's a long way to get to.
Oh no, you're totally fine. You're totally.
So back,
Uh,
so
I'll turn it
connecting.
back on myself here in a minute. So go ahead.
But getting back to the whole Jack Mormon thing. So like that whole thing that I was telling about dying was, I feel like I understand that connection with like directly to God or to my guardian angels, and not through a church, not through a religion, not
Yeah,
through
yeah.
a
No, I totally get
man-made
it.
construct to get to God, this feeling, this, you know, and um but I was because of my grandmother, who had a similar experience where she was almost, you know, uh, they declared her still like she's not going to make it through the night. She's going to die. She was dying of pneumonia, at a real young age. And the Mormon missionaries came in and they did a blessing. And the next day she was right as rain and leaving the hospital. She was like 100%. They
Wow.
did that. They did the whole, like the thing with the olive oil, like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
deep, like the
Yeah.
go see the Lord prayer,
Yep, yep, yep.
And so that's how the Mormons, that's how it entered into my family. And
Hmm.
my great grandfather was a 33-degree Mason.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and that like really threw the family for a loop when they found out. But he was already well into the Masons. It might even have been that high of a degree before he entered the Mormon Church. That's against the Mormon Church. But when
Mhm.
you look at stuff, the Mormon Church is based off of Masonic
It
influence
is,
stuff,
yeah.
but they don't like that. But so, um, so the reason why I get offended by the whole Jack Mormon thing is
Mhm.
because I've never been one of those Mormons that told you, not you, but, told people you're
Right.
wrong. Your
Yeah,
religion's wrong. Oh no, that's bad. Don't do that. Da, 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 da. And then when no one's looking, doing whatever,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
they're smoking, snorting, shooting, fucking sucking, doing everything with it. That's a Jack Mormon, because they're not, you
Fair
know,
enough.
I
Fair
never
enough.
once
Yeah.
professed to be, what I mean? Like I'm like by default, you know what I mean? Like but I do take it in that sense just because I'm an honest person, and
Mhm.
I'll tell people that I'm Mormon. And then that's the very first like jab, that's the very, or if any kind of religion or any kind of discussion
Yeah.
comes up, that's the very first thing they grab a hold. So I'm and I don't want to say
Uh,
defensive because it doesn't bother me, but that'll get me to, that'll get me to spar a little bit. You know what I mean?
Good
Like
for
that'll get
you.
me.
Good for you.
So,
Yeah.
but
Thank you for telling me. Um Let me apologize for using that term.
no, 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 no. I'm just giving my take.
No, let
It's
me
my take on it.
apologize because I grew up evangelical Christian, like Mike Pence evangelical Christian. My graduate degree, my master's in counseling, is from a seminary.
Okay.
Then I left the church. Didn't want anything to do with it. Eventually, I met my wife about 10 years. Let's see, I've been a therapist 20 years. Yeah, so it's about 10 years ago. And kind of convinced me like I still believe in it. I just like to argue, which I like to pretend like I don't like to argue, and I don't want. I want people to understand what I believe, and not like paint me with that brush, paint me with the Mike Pence brush. Um, but she's been amazing, and it's a very similar experience as what it sounds like from what you've had. So
Yeah, I did. I will say one thing. There's two things I will say about the Mormons. I do like, maybe three.
yeah,
I
fair enough.
do like the sense of community and looking
Mhm.
after one another, and they do have great like programs in place for taking care of you know, their own community in a
Mhm.
sense. With that though, and the trust in that, there is tons of like predatory people who use, abuse, take advantage. There's a lot of
Yeah,
fraud, a lot of corrupt, a lot of con artists.
yeah,
And you'll get that in any religion. It just seems it's very prominent that you get that in
mm,
the Mormon
mhm.
religion. And insert joke there. Oh, if you believe in magic underwear, you deserve it. Whatever. But it's the people. There's a level. You have your super rich.
Right,
You
right.
have your business owners and stuff like that, and then you have your poor people in the Mormon church
Yeah,
that are there,
yeah,
um people get taken advantage of from the people who are that know that there's money in the church,
mhm,
and or they can get money out of somebody because they're working with somebody in the church.
yeah,
um but like I said, I do like the sense of community. Then the other thing I don't like about it, and it's just in any church, but you get it, is um, a lot of people, the dual lives.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't like that. The dual life. I just I don't like that. I
Yeah.
don't like that. I always looked at it like this. I always looked at it like cheating, like in a relationship, is bad. It would hurt. It would be devastating. Okay, if it was a one-off,
Hmm.
it'd be completely eviscerating if it was like a
Oof.
long-term thing. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
dual
Yeah.
life is just that's just terrible. And the
Yes.
sad thing is I've been the dual life guy, and it
Mm.
aged me fast. You know what I mean? It aged me fast, and that's one thing I said with my wife is like I just had a moment, and I was just like, dude, I'll never. We never did we never did anything. I never did anything when we were dating. Never like once I was like, yo, it's me and you. It was me and her, and that was that. Like I never even like
Good for you.
entertained
Yeah.
because I looked at it like this. I was learning a lot about myself, but I was learning about vibration, you know, vibes in life. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Positive energy. I was learning
Yeah.
about,
Yeah. Yeah.
like chakras and stuff. And one of the things is they're like, they always say in a relationship or when, you have a connection with somebody, you vibe together, your vibrations are good. And that led me to women always know when you cheat by a change how they feel,
Mm.
right? And I've noticed I noticed that with all the girls that I had cheated on before because everything's fine, but I was able to do it. I was able to, you know what I mean? As a bartender, I was able to sneak off and just,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
whatever. But I'd be fine, nothing. It's not even in the back of my head. And then my girl, at the time would just be like, you're different. I don't know what's different, but something's just different. You're like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know. And it would matter. Dude, they felt it.
Mm.
And then, all those girls that I cheated on because I was cheated on when I was young in a relationship. So I decided
Mm.
I was going to always get one in case it went to shit. No one was going to
Ah.
have,
Okay. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, totally fucked,
Gotcha.
right? Well, it ruined great relationships that I had. I could have had I had like great relationships. And then I had that one under the belt and it would just slowly manifest until, right?
Yeah.
So with my girl, I just knew, was like, yo, this girl loves me and I really like her and I don't want to mess this up.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna play my old game anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not having, and here we are. We're going on like 11 years and got 3 kids.
Good for
You know,
you.
you
Way to
know,
go, buddy.
and I
Uh,
and I I
Hold on.
really like her.
Yeah.
I
I
like
gotta
my
just
wife.
write out these questions because, like, yeah, my friend just called me. Um,
No, no worries.
anyways, no, that's really interesting that you mentioned that. It's fascinating. So I've always been fascinated by when I started getting into psychology. I really liked Carl Jung, and I believed that the synchronicity. Do you know about synchronicity? Like you put things out into the ether or whatever, and then it kind of brings it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And with this, it's interesting because you and I are complete strangers.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had very, very similar experiences. You being a bartender is very similar to me being a therapist. And my guess is you're actually very in tune with like when that weird stuff is going on also with the people that you've dated in the past. Is that a fair assessment?
What, like the vibe? Something's not right.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, definitely. Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. So I just find it fascinating that like whatever.
Now that I'm a parent, I don't even have to be. I can feel it in the other room. Yeah, I'll be in the, especially now that I'm around the kids, but I'll have my son in here doing he'll be doing the schoolwork, and I'm just like I'll be reading in the other room, and I'm just like usually if he's, yeah, like in my head I'm like, If he's done, usually he's done by now. I go, he's got to be stressed about something. I'm like,
Something's
what's
going on.
wrong? He's like, you can hear him like, then, I say that, then they can hear him. He'll start grunting and groaning like, see, I just know, you feel it.
Oh, and it makes sense as a comic because you need to feel the room that way too, don't you?
Yes. And that's something that I miss. And that's something that I always enjoy hosting shows. Everybody's like, oh, you should, well, why don't you go for headlining and stuff? And I was like, yeah, that's cool. Um, uh, Definitely, I mean, I want to move up. I want more stage time, but,
Yeah.
um, I feel like I can get up on anything if you got me hosting, I can get up, but I definitely like cold starts. I have a, I have a sick, I have a sick fetish on abusing myself with, trying to just, start up a cold room. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people dread it. If people don't want to be the first comic or they don't want to be the host, um, I enjoy doing it. It's challenging, And if you get them, fuck, you get them, dude. You get it. Sometimes. I
And
mean, there's
jazz is
times.
it's great, I assume.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you work so hard to like make a connection. A lot of guys, a lot of people, they just think, oh, you're hosting, you're just moving the show along, but you're really setting up the room. If I do a good job, even if I bomb, right? Because I've gone up there and I've told great jokes, and it's just like, man, because they're just like your host, whatever. But it's already been planted. It's already been in there that I'm throwing out haymakers. I'm throwing out stuff. So then when the other guys throw out stuff, they're like, oh, here's the first comedian. Now we can laugh. So when they start talking about, ass grabbing and nipple twisting, people are just, they're already more primed,
Right.
I've already seasoned the meatloaf. Now
Yeah,
it's leave them to shape it, mold it, bake it, and have it come out good.
that is the best analogy I've ever heard. Comedy as meatloaf. All right, we got two more questions.
I'll try and be quick with them, dude.
Yeah, I know.
I'm
I told you
long-winded,
I
so
wanted to go 30 minutes, and this is my problem. I need to be more focused.
it's tough, dude.
Oh,
Conversation's tough.
well, I'm learning. Um, all right, the next ones are pretty easy. Well, you've been in quarantine. I know you have three small kids. You're helping them with schoolwork, but what have you been streaming, listening to, reading, watching? What kind of things have you been consuming while you're in quarantine? Give me three. We'll say three.
Yeah. Well, news,
Yeah.
staying up to date, cross-referencing, stuff. So news, what I've been, uh, I don't, I haven't been listening to podcasts anymore
Mhm.
than I normally do, and which isn't a lot. I pick and choose. Um, I definitely, one of the things I still do what I always do, but one of the things I do is I scour the net for interesting things uh, to that's going on in our world, finding like off news stuff. So I definitely like going down and perusing in that just to find stuff that's that you're not really going to find on the first page of Google or anything.
Mhm.
Like I just like kind of going down the rabbit hole on certain subjects. Right now, one of those is like finances, financial planning, um, that kind of thing. The where we are right now, and what we're all been foisted in, not just me, but my industry is like shut down on both ends, day and night shows. Um, Got to find something else to do. You know what I mean? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no
Got
worries.
to got to find something else to do. So one of the things that I've always been about, and I haven't really, I've loosely did, was stuff for wealth protection. You know what I mean? Now I'm going all immersed into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Insurance, retirement stuff, financial planning, debt management, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I've been geeking out on right
Good.
now.
Good.
And then the other thing is getting my kids watching like old classic like the classic movies I grew up with, Goonies,
Ah, so good. Yeah.
like I think tonight we're gonna do Indiana Jones. I'm gonna get them
Nice.
doing that. But busting out, we just did the whole Matrix. 1, 2,
Yep.
and 3. Like we did them all like straight on through. Like we were all like
Nice.
we're like at the end, like lobotomized. But yeah, Tron, like
Oh, Tron's one of my favorites.
yeah, so um that's been like what I've been up to, trying to
Good.
learn, trying to stay current, and then try to like introduce my kids into like the pop culture world of
Good.
like, so they know my references, and so
Yeah.
they'll have dope ass references that other kids will know about, like, and they'll learn the idea of like how to use. That's one of the things is like we quoted movies, we still do, we do it. You find those lines, you find those things, like they're gonna be like, hey, you always say that. Like, now you know. Now you know why I say that, because that fits. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
um, so
Sweet.
that's what we've been doing. That's
Sweet.
my
All right, so this is the choose your own adventure. Do you have Netflix?
I do, yes.
Did you watch Tiger King?
No.
Okay.
No, I refuse.
I'm a glutton for punishment for any documentary, and my wife hates it because she hates documentaries.
I love documentaries, but that's like one of those things, like especially with the sensationalism of it. I'm
Oh,
just
it's
like,
so sensationalized. So I've been asking people if they thought Carol fed her husband to the tigers, because we all know she did. She did.
hey, when you look at the movie Snatch, and they're like, hey, you got to be careful of a guy with a pig farm. Make bodies disappear.
Exactly.
Something that eats 500 pounds of flesh in a day or something. A human body is a snack.
What was that movie? Was it Roar? I haven't seen it, but some filmmaker had these people living in this weird little house together with all these giant animals, and they all got mauled together. It's from the 60s. I don't really remember what it was called. All right. So, what's one thing that you're going to do tomorrow to take care of yourself and your family and their mental health with all the crazy stuff that's going on?
One, get us outside
Nice.
and, do something with no electronics, be it playing or pulling weeds or doing something. I think our next project is I'm going to have them. We're going to do a small bed garden, a
Nice.
little raised flower bed garden.
Nice.
Um, Tomorrow, I think, what's tomorrow? Thursday. Um,
Yes.
well, tomorrow is probably going to be rest and recuperation, because Wednesdays is hard liquor and handgun night. Yeah. No, no, tomorrow probably just make sure that we're out doing something, we're active, we're using our bodies, we're
Good
getting,
for you.
because it's beautiful out right now. One thing I will say, with the pollution down there, without the people driving and the excessive, I won't say excessive, but all the planes in the air. I mean, it is definitely a different breath of air when you go outside, and I do
Cool.
enjoy it.
Well, enjoy the sun. Here in Colorado, I'm on the Front Range. I'm just a bit north of Denver. We've had a cold front move in, so we're supposed to get a bunch of snow. So
No, yeah. We've had a whole bunch of lights. We've had a whole I mean, the lights. We've had a whole bunch of clouds. We've had our storm and rain and stuff like that, but just in our mountains, nothing here where we are. So you guys are probably picking up all that, because
yeah,
probably get stronger as it moves along.
thanks, jerk.
Yeah. Hey, just
Anyways,
be happy it's not filled with radioactive isotopes like it used to be back in the days with the testing. So
right, exactly, exactly. All right, well, I need to be taken off anyways. My wife just texted me. She's like, I thought you said it was going to be 30 minutes. Apparently, we went an hour. So I need to
happens.
start planning for an hour. because I chat way too much. But Trez, thank you so much.
Thank you. I
It
appreciate
was
it.
a pleasure to talk to you. I'll let you know when I post this, and then we'll go from there. So thanks again. Down in the description, I'll link to all your stuff.
Yeah, ThinkStopper.com, TrezMala.com, ThinkStopper on YouTube channel, and Trez Mala on YouTube. That's pretty much it.
Sweet. Thanks so much for giving me your time. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for having me, dude.
This was awesome. All right. Bye.